this video, it matters a lot to me, and I wanted to react to it quickly. And if you hear me going into rant, is because I'm pissed off by a lot of things. Um, and I'm in control of my emotions, but I gotta give my opinion on this because I've been silent on it for a very long time. And many other colleagues within my field, peers within my field, ask me how I feel about it and how I see certain things. And I gotta tell you, I'll draw two sides of, or two comparison, or two. I'll give you two stories here, and you will see. Now, this is Kelly Robinson speaking to a group of senators here, and it's a much larger conversation. You could go look it up. You'll find it online, and the extent of it, the whole discussions. But this particular clip, she struggles to actually be straight and answer a simple question, and she continuously muddy the waters, confuse everyone, including me, and it shows her inability to say, "Okay, I don't know. Okay, I could be wrong here. Okay, I need more information." Instead of that, she kept pushing an agenda, kept pushing a narrative, kept pushing and pushing. And when you do that in front of these politicians, which are crafty people, they're very crafty. They could ask you a question and make you just look stupid and use it against you in bit size. These are professional crafters. They do this all the time. That's why got into their position. But here she thinks she can come on this stage and air her supreme knowledge when she has zero about this space, right? And just confused the crap out of everyone. She couldn't answer a straight question. And for me, the guy was asking Senator Kennedy is asking two questions. Do you know how many races there are? Sorry, not races. Do you know how many sexes there are? Do you know how many genders there are? Right? He's not conflating. He's asking you numbers, right? And she just kept muddying the waters, couldn't answer it. Now, that's one side. The other side is what happened here had an impact on organizations. As you heard, you read in the news, a lot of, organizations, universities have closed down the DEI department. A lot of people got laid off, got sacked. Yes, rightfully so. They should have been sacked or never even been given the job in the first place. A lot, 99% of them didn't know what they were doing. They were no expert in the field, and they were picked for these positions because they were gay, one, transgender, or just, let's say, from the LGBTQ plus community, period. They were picked and given the job, or they were picked because they're black. Oh, George Floyd murder. So you know a lot about how to fix culture, right? What does that have to do with culture within an organization, right? I know, but they didn't. Then there's some of them, if you had a disability, you were picked. If you were from a socio-economic background, you were picked. Everybody from some dimension within the human struggle, from a diverse, they were picked for these roles. They had no experience. They had no proof of evidence. And it goes back to what Elon Musk is saying. Let's hire people who are qualified, who has the experience, who has the knowledge and so forth. That's what they're holding up to, right? The same should have applied for these individuals who are holding these positions, because you are messing with people's mind here, people's emotions. You can alter the course of behaviors within an organization. This is something cynical, sinister, I would say sinister, if you don't have the proper knowledge and you force your way into these jobs. You're coming in with your own agenda, and that's what happened. A lot of these people had trauma and they went into these roles. So, for example, I give you an example. A lot of those people in the D&I space, especially black ones, I will pick, right? If you go on LinkedIn, you'll see them. They will post pictures, they will write stuff about a person getting beat up, they write stuff about racism. Everything is about racism, right? But you got to understand, you're working with white people. This is not about protecting their feelings. If you're going to say something, you must have proof and evidence. And the people in front of you, unless these people have committed some sort of atrocity, crime, or they're the ones who, broke the straw on the camel's back, don't bring these concepts and bring stories and bring history of other things from other places and make and burden them down. This is what's happening across organization. People are feeling bad. It's almost like let's make the white man feel bad. I can tell you in a nutshell. And at the end of the thing, I'll tell you whose fault it was that caused organizations to go into all this chaos, specifically organizational culture. I will tell you who within the organizational structure, the functions within them. But I'm letting you know organizations and what happened in this hearing here, what Kelly said, how the senators react. The senators, you had lawmakers, you could check it up now. They passed law in many states banning DEI programs in universities, in businesses, because they find it unconstitutional, all this kind of stuff. Lawmakers, very people she was talking to, made up this stuff. A lot of people lost their jobs. Before that, a lot of people felt, emotionally drained, and, they were abused from a mental side. There was a lot that was happening. So a lot of toxic. So they're trying to say we're going to make the place better, but they alienate a whole group of people and create toxic environments. It made it worse than it was before. I'm telling you this because I've been in this space. I've been in space for over 20 years. A lot of these people only entered a space when George Floyd got murdered. A lot of them, because a lot of company reacted and panicked and threw money behind it. And a lot of these morons, these grabbers, these fucking thieves and schemers and scam artists jump into the space and say, oh, I'm an expert because I'm black. I'm an expert because I'm gay. Oh, I'm an expert because I am Catholic or Jewish or Protestant or a Buddhist or a Hindu. I'm an expert because look, I come from a poor background, and all of them came with emotional trauma. All of them were trying to get back at another group. And you can go into those organizations, those universities, and those spaces, and you're going to hear people say, oh, yeah, they said this, that against those people. That's what happened. That's why D&I fell apart in America, right? So Kelly is saying stuff here, just the same nonsense and the same confusion she's causing here. The same thing was in other organizations. These so-called experts were doing the same to the business leaders, to the first line managers, to the entire organization. That's why I got my beef with. So that's my 8-minute rant, or my intro into why I wanted to do this, because those people in the organization could never make things simple for anyone when they ask the question. They made people feel guilty, people start calling people racist. People were becoming so emotional in their feelings. They talk about inclusion, and all they did was practice exclusion. Here is where she is, the whole thing of woke, where people just got stupid and didn't understand no longer where reality of things make sense to them. And here's her. She can't answer a simple question. She then say, I'm not an expert. You're going to hear, she says, oh, I don't know. The guy over there is the expert. But I'm still going to, I think that should be discussed. That should be talked about. Shut up. You're not an expert. Say, Senator, I don't know the answer. Ask him, please. Or I yield to this person. She did what most of them did in the organization: cloudy, muddy, confused, and didn't get anywhere. And they failed. And she failed here. Right? Let's get into her. So I had to just lay that out to give you where I'm coming from, what is my beef with this. But let's just get into see how Kelly addressed this here.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thanks to all of our witnesses here today. Ms. Robinson, I want to follow up by trying to understand your answer to one of Senator Cruz's questions. And this is really a question, not a suggestion. Do I understand your position to be that there are two sexes, but there can be more than two genders?
I wouldn't even say two, and we've got Dr. Lopez here as well, but there's also the definition of intersex. I think that often in these conversations we're conflating sex and gender, and I do want to affirm here that trans women are women. That is their gender.
Okay, but I'm trying to understand, do you make a distinction between sex and gender?
Yes, sir.
Okay, explain that. Do you think there are more than two sexes?
I believe that there's a definition for intersex as well that I want to acknowledge. But sex is assigned at birth.
I'm just trying to understand. I'm thoroughly confused. So you're born, I'm talking about biology, male, female, and what else?
I believe that intersex is also acknowledged.
Intersex.
But again, I'm not a doctor here. What I can
And
say
what does intersex mean?
is that there's a difference between sex and gender. And I think in these conversations, we're conflating the two.
Well, but I want to start with sex, okay? There's male, there's female. When a baby's born, before the baby has had time to even have a sense of self, there's male, female, and intersex. There's a third sex.
I believe that is true, but I would defer to Dr. Lopez as I'm not a physician.
Okay.
You see, confusion. She brought in intersex, didn't give a definition of what intersex is, or if it's recognized an actual sex just as male and female is recognized, or are recognized just as male and female. They are both recognized as with clear definition of what they are and how they're applied, right? He asked her about 3 or 4 times, how many sexes are there? She brought up intersex with no, that is what I'm talking about where I was going off before. They can't simple answer question. They muddy because they don't know, but they hold the position as they're the expert. She then say that guy is the expert on sexes because he's a doctor, right? So if you're not, why the hell are you answering the question? Just say, Senator, I don't know how many they are. Take that position. I don't know, Senator. Dr. Lopez, why don't you answer the question, please? No, she couldn't. She brought up something, didn't answer the question, brought something up. I just want to put that out there. Why you want to put some shit out there when you just drop it like there? And now, Senator Kennedy saying, so they're a male and now they're a female. Okay, I understand that. And then there is intersex, right? Can you hear him said, can you give me the definition of that? Oh, she heard that, but then she jumped over it. Don't know what the fuck she's talking about. Because if you, and what you should do, go and look up the definition of intersex, you will see. Gotta clear my throat. You will see what intersex is and what they're talking about intersex. Okay? So don't bring it up when he asks. You don't know the number. Shut up. Just tell him, I don't know. Dr. Lopez, please answer. Confusion. You heard him say, I am confused. Because she confused the shit out of him. And if you're in front of lawmakers and you know these people are going to make laws that are going to impact the lives of the very people you're claiming to represent, you're fighting for them to have a seat at the table, you're trying to create a all wonderful world, right? Answer the damn question. Because if she did answer the question, she would have got into hot waters to say, okay, then why are you saying this? And why are you saying that? Well, she got to continue muddying the waters. So let's continue to see how she confused everybody.
And how many genders are there?
I think the gender is expansive and the definitions are always growing. Today I can tell you, I talk to young people that talk about non-binary as
more than 5.
I think the gender is not a binary, is what I'm trying to say.
Are there more than 5 genders? I'm just trying to understand. Are there more than 5 genders?
Well, I think that there was a time where women wearing pants didn't feel like it was appropriate for their gender, and yet I'm wearing.
Did you see that? the so-called expert. Did you see that? Every time the senator asks her a question, he's being specific about numbers. Just tell me, are there more than two sexes? Yes or no? I don't know. Let's pass it over to Dr. Lopez. Okay, so that's biology. So you're not a biologist, you're not a physician, you don't know. Okay, don't bring up intersex because you don't know what it means, you don't know how it applies, you don't know the context of it. Don't bring it up. Now let's get into gender. Are there more than five gender? So are there more than five gender? Answer the fucking question. Are there more than five gender? No. I could recall a time when, I was wearing pants. Are there more than five genders? All she had to say, Senator, I don't know. Because gender identity and gender expression is all internally. I think, therefore I identify as a male. There's a difference between sex. She said that. Great. That's some clarity, the only clarity there. So if someone can conceive or someone can say that I identify as A today, then you could say tomorrow they can change their mind and say I identify as B, and then I identify as C the next day, and so forth and so on. So you could say, yes, there are more, because every day a new gender. I don't know the number. I really don't know. So in lack of a better explanation or whatever, I would say, yeah, there are more than one. There are many. I just don't know the numbers. That's it. But she gone into pants, wearing pants, as if he's asking question by numbers, right? Can't keep it simple.
Pants today. I think that there are ways that we express our gender that are expansive.
Are there more than five?
I wouldn't subject myself to naming how many genders there are, but what I can say is that gender is a reflection. Number? Excuse me?
There's an infinite number of genders?
I think depending on your culture, there are a lot of different genders that exist. And I can also say that it's a term that's evolving. If you look at young people today, they really don't lean into the binary of only woman and man. So I think that it's incumbent upon us not to legislate on this, but create space for them to explore what their identity.
You see? Explore it. No, young people are defining it all over the place. That's what 99% of the DEI, so-called chief DEI officer, head of DEI, DEI lead, DEI manager, just all of these fuckers, they did exactly that. Confused the shit out of everyone in the organization, especially the decision makers. And that's why there has been a backlash, because half of those people were incapable. All of them, majority of them, I'm just going to put out a blanket thing there, incapable of doing the job. They had no history, and she's exactly that. No skills or capabilities to back up what they're saying. She said, I'm not an expert. I can't talk to you about sexes, but I'm going to throw something up in here. If I'm not an expert, if I don't have knowledge in something, I just open my mouth, then that's bullshit coming out there, right? So that bullshit is going to fall on people and it's going to splatter all over them and mess them up. Here's the other thing about gender, right? You ask her about sexes, she couldn't tell. Here's the thing about gender. She can't tell. Again, she goes into pants. And he said, I'm confused. Are there more? Are there more than five? Are there more than five? He keeps saying the same number. Are there more? He didn't dodge the question. He didn't try to smoke screen it to confuse her. He's a politician. He could have done that. He just simplified. Are there more than five? Yes or no? I don't know. End of. But this is what happens with all the DEI leads. They don't know shit. They confuse the hell out of people. And they get the job. Oh my gosh, because they talk it. They create this narrative story that makes everyone buys into it. Also, we got a real expert here. They have shown no proof. No proof where they've done this work before. And she's one of them going in front of the senators and talking. And you could see she can't answer a simple question in a space that she's coming to represent.
identities are, what their gender identities are.
Let's get back to athletics. I think I understand what you're saying. There are three sexes: male, female, and intersex.
I believe that to be true, but again, I'm not a physician.
And
so
there are an infinite number of genders because gender is a mental state.
Gender is about expression, and I think that there are a variety of ways that you can express your gender.
Okay, so there's infinite number. All right, let's go back to the biology. Male, female, boy, girl. Okay, biologically, do males have an advantage over females biologically in sports?
Again, I'm not a physician, and I can't speak to that.
What's your real world experience?
It depends. I mean, there are some people who are born male that I'm faster than if I were to sprint against them, and some that I'm not. Some males
So
that are
you don't
taller than
believe
some
that-
women,
you
and
don't
some that are
believe
shorter.
that a biological male has a physical advantage in sports over a biological female?
Not as a definitive statement.
Give me an example. Well, no, I don't think. How many female members of the NBA do you see?
Well, I can say that, there's been this news article about men that think that they could beat Serena Williams in tennis, right? That they think that they could actually score a point on her. And it's just not the case. She is stronger than
James,
that.
what's your experience been? Male, female.
Both Serena and Venus lost to the 203rd ranked male tennis player, which they're phenoms for women. My experience, my husband, he swam at University of Kentucky as well. In terms of accolades and in terms of national ranking, I was a much better swimmer than him. He could kick my butt any day of the week without trying.
Okay. I just think, Ms. Robinson, I'm trying to understand where you're coming from. I think you lose a lot of credibility when you don't concede that a biological male has physical advantages over a biological female. I mean, I just think that's a proven fact, and you really hurt your credibility. I understand you want the world to be a better place. I do too, and I don't think people ought to be discriminated against because of an immutable characteristic. I don't. And I think that I think everybody ought to be free to be themselves. And what you do in your bedroom or what I do in my bedroom with a consenting adult is nobody's business. But if what I do in my bedroom with a consenting adult, if I decide I want to tell somebody's child about it, then other people have rights too. And I think parents have rights. And I think biological females have rights to be able to compete fairly in sports. So I really think you hurt your credibility when you refuse to acknowledge that biological males have an advantage over biological females. It kind of makes me wonder about all your testimony. Thank you,
Senator
Mr. Chairman.
Kennedy. I'm sorry, go ahead.
What I'm trying to say is that there is not a definitive advantage in all cases. Sir, I don't know if you believe that you could beat Serena Williams in tennis, but I probably think that that's not the case. There are not all cases where all men are physically superior to all women. And at the end of the day, in this conversation, we're not talking about that. We're talking about trans women who are, in fact, women, who deserve to play in a gender that matches their sports, who deserve all the benefits that Ms. Gaines is talking about. And as a cisgender Black woman, I can say definitively that my womanhood is not threatened by a transgender person asserting hers as well.
Senator Hirono.
Yeah, like I said, here she said, I'm a cisgender Black woman. Why didn't they just have a transgender woman up there answering questions about about all those questions about gender and sexism? Because that's the lived experience of a transgender woman or man who understand that world, gender identity, gender expression. Why is she up there? Why are you playing the hero, speaking on behalf of someone, and then trying to hold space for them. Who are you? You're not even transgender. You oh, as a cisgender woman, shut up. Go away. You can't even answer a simple question. You made it worse. That's what he said. He's listening to her and he told her. You lose credibility, and he's worried about the other statements she made. And that's why I was saying before at the top of the video intro that what happened here had an impact on the laws that were made recently and passed in all the states, because it's the very same people who were involved in those laws. And I'm not saying she's the reason why they made these laws. Then look what happened with Pride. And you heard him mention what happens in the bedroom with me and a consenting adult is our business. But if we take it outside, what happens in that bedroom and we share it with a minor, the parents has rights to open their mouth and speak up. They have rights too. And what that piece of conversation was, what he just mentioned there that was connecting to, is that Pride Parade, where Pride is all about, it's expression of sexuality that's what it is about. It's the whole community is about that, right? That's why you go to Pride now, you see all those people wearing those skimpy outfits and all of that stuff and doing all those crazy things in front of kids, minors, right? I just don't get that. If an adult male is caught, or adult female is caught in front of minors with 99% of their clothing off, what would happen? I'm not talking about members of the LGBTQ plus. Don't get it twisted. I'm not saying, oh, I'm trying to draw that there. No, I'm saying if, for example, a straight man and a straight woman is in front of little boys, 8, 9, all those age groups, with probably her underwear on and whatever. If she's caught in a room, caught in a space, any space like that, she's going to jail. If a male did that in front of little girls, he's going to jail. But at Pride, you're saying kids could be open up to that and there's no repercussion. Oh, it's okay. And this is why a lot of people have issues with it. And here's what Kelly doesn't understand. There's a lot of it's a wider stretch, a lot of stuff based on, implications, impact of all the stuff that happened in this conversation. And I said all of that, he mentioned a bit snippet of it, and all of that came back into full circle with the laws, because now the NFL, the NBA, all of these big organized sports organizations said they're not going to partake in Pride, and all of a sudden you're going to see Pride is going to be start getting banned in many cities in the United States. That's it. That's what's going to happen. People don't understand. When you go to talk, be straight. Be straight with your answer. Be as simple as possible. People can understand. Don't be vague, because you're not helping yourself and you're not helping those who you're supposed to be holding space for and helping. Right? If you're not an expert, don't take the step. Don't take the seat. Shut the hell up and stay in the back. Right? But she got to be known. She want to be out there. And that's my beef with all of people like her in that space. No experience. Just be straight. Answer questions straight up. I don't know, but I'll find out. I'm not the expert here, but I'll bring somebody who is, and now who could give you clarity. Don't take the seat. And that's my beef. So here's where she lost credibility. He said that. I'm worried about all your other statements. I don't believe nothing you say, because you can't give a straight answer. Right? So real quick, as I mentioned at the top, in organization, the ones who are at fault for organizational culture. So again, why I reacted to this particular clip in the entire hearing is because it has impact on the organization, and that's my field. I work in our organizational culture, and I go around from job to jobs, or I consult, or I coach how to develop organizational culture and the position the organization should take, right? Guess what? Here's a tip for those of you who are watching this. The function that cause all the disruption, or the function that has the power to bring about real positive change, is the human resources department. It's not the executive branch. It's not your CEO or the senior directors. It's not their that's not their job. It's not even a job description. It's the human resources department. Your first line managers, for those of you who've worked in an organization where a manager has been full of shit, who've treated you poorly, who've treated you bad, who say awful things about you, stress you out to make you leave the organization. Why is that individual still at the job? Because of the human resources department. Why were you pushed out of the organization and those individuals stay behind? The human resources department. When people are being, anything that you've experienced poorly, I would say, within an organization, and as a result of a manager, the manager stays, it's the human resource department. They do all of this. So when there are not enough representation, for example, female representation in organization, is the human resources department fault. Why? They make the policies. They make the processes. Yeah, the human resources department. No hiring manager creates his own process. No hiring manager creates a company policy about recruitment. And no hiring manager decide how much bonus he or she or they should get. No hiring manager decide whether they pass all the KPIs, they achieve their KPIs to get their bonuses. No hiring manager. Human resources department again. When they're hiring managers, when the first line managers are doing PDR, performance development, your performance development plan, and they're going through it to see if you've hit your targets that were agreed upon. All that information goes back to the human resources department. So I'm explaining to you the core, the crust, the individuals who cause all of this stuff, human resources department. So when everybody's bitching and moaning there are not enough female leaders within an organization, blame the human resources department. And guess who's at the top of 90% or even 95% of the biggest organizers, from the largest to the medium sized to small? You will find a female individual, a female chief people officer or head of human resources. You'll find a woman there, biological woman, if we want to use that term. There, a biological female, whatever term you want to use, is at the head, about 90 to 95% of the organization globally. And yet, there is no healthy representation or healthy balance of females within that organization. But yet, the person who's running that organization, that function within the organization, I should say, is failing at their job. They're responsible. When there's less ethnicity or diversity within ethnicity and race and stuff, again, it's a female person running that. It's not the hiring managers. When there is less disability or even the policy to support disabled colleagues within a business or employees within an organization, human resources department. I could break it down. And guess what? Go back again. The person who's running that function, 90 to 95% are women, men. So when you say the CEO, the leaders don't care, all the leadership in the organization go and talk to the head of human resources or the chief people officer about what the values of the organization should be. Are we living the values? Or our behaviors align with the values? All of this. What is the temperature like? Those leaders at the top, the guys that you try to blame, the executive at the top, they ask that female head of human resources or that uh, uh, um, chief people officer who's female. They ask, what is the temperature like? How are people being treated? How are people seeing the organization? People, are employees happy? And you don't want to guess what they tell them, because that responsibility of employee engagement and happiness and fulfillment falls directly under the human resources department, and it's tied directly as a KPI to the chief people officer or the head. So again, the cover up is within the human resources department, not the hiring manager. If the hiring manager is crap and stays within their job, in that job, human resources department fault. When you go make a complaint and they take notes and they put and nothing comes out of it, human resources department. When someone is being abused or discriminated or miss the salary and don't get all of this stuff, human resources department. Recruitment policies, onboarding policies, sick leaves, all of this stuff, human resources department. Not the executives, not the CEO. So stop blaming them, because I can tell you there's not a single CEO who's sitting there saying, I don't care about racism in my company. They don't. So that's why DEI got it wrong in the US. They attacked the wrong people because, like I said, none of these people had the experience of fixing org culture. So they start putting out this narrative, oh, there are no white executives. The organization is too male, pale, and stale. Too many white men on the board, too many white men over here, too many white men over. Dude, do you know who decides what the salary benchmark of the organization should be? Ping pong, guess what? The human resources department. So when you feel underpaid, it's the human resources department, not your manager. The human resources department leader works with the finance leader and determine where the big portion of the salary goes within the organization, not the finance manager. The finance manager is just an accountant, basically, to say we got £5 or $5 to spend, how we should break this money down. And the human resources person, head of, say, oh, let's take 20 of that is going to be bonus. Let's put this. They break that down. I can tell you, I worked there for over 20 years. So all the issues is the human resources department. Don't blame the CEO. Stop with this narrative of that's why Elon Musk and all these big CEOs push back. They're the ones with the power. So you're going to blame the guy with the power. And the power, when I meant they're the ones with the power, they're the ones with the power to turn around and say to the chief people officer, you fail at your job, you're fired. So the blame was shift onto them. So how are you going to tell the power movers of the company in terms of creating revenues? That's their job. The CEO's job is to find that opportunity to create revenue and drive the business and take it to the level. You blame them. You blame the directors who are running different functions, probably the sales team, probably the marketing team. You're blaming them for all your problems? No, blame the human resources department. There are the motherfuckers who messed you up, not the chief people, not the male managers or the executive leaders. And if you have a first line manager, and first line managers are individuals who have a lot of people to report into them, so they're mostly operational managers. They're the ones, they're the ones who, if they're poor and they stay in the job, like I said, it's human resources department fault. End of my rant, and that's just me sharing some facts. So again, when you want to see DEI work or cultural development work or any concept you want to see work, fix the human resources department with actually good people who know what they're talking about, who know what they're doing. And you will find an organization thriving and developing in the right way. Until you fix them and give them the skills and capabilities, problems going to persist and exist in organizations. So everyone who, if you've been, if you're going through a tribunal or you're in law, you're suing a company, again, human resources department, that's where your problem is. Point your finger at them, not the executives. Look at careless. Are you telling you seriously telling? Ask yourself, someone who's making 300,000, 500,000, based on the size of the organization, they're sitting there thinking, "Oh my gosh, there are too many black people here. We need to stop them." They don't even interact with you. Oh, there are less black people here. We should hire. They don't even know. Oh, there are less, LGBTQ plus individuals in the business. They don't even know. Or there are less people with disability, and we don't even have enough resources to support them around reasonable adjustments. They don't even know. All of that data, all of that information sits within the human resources department. So it's not the leaders. Don't blame the board. Don't blame the executive team. Don't blame the first line managers. Don't blame the head of departments. Just go to one function, is the human resources function, department or function within your business, the people team, whatever label you label them in your organization, they're the fault. They're the ones to be blamed for all the craziness that is happening, specifically all the madness that happened in diversity, inclusion, and equity, specifically in the States and somewhere in the UK as well, and other parts of the world. Blame them. And that's where you'll go to them and you'll find your answer there. And that's all I have to say about this one.